Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let us have a look at the headlines first. Digital India Initiative completes 9 years. Reserve Bank of India joins Project Nexus to enable instant cross-border retail payments. Goods and Services Tax completes 7 years. Ministry of Defence to acquire Li-Fi technology for secure and efficient data transmission. Niti Aayog releases white paper, Responsible AI for All on facial recognition technology. Karnataka government notifies rules extending social security to unorganized transportation workers. Starting with the first news, the Digital India Initiative completes 9 years. This is a flagship program launched in 2015 to transform India into a digitally empowered society and knowledge economy. Over the years, this umbrella program has encompassed multiple projects across various central ministries, departments, states, and union territories, driving the nation towards a digital future. The Digital India Initiative focuses on 3 key areas: digital infrastructure as utility to every citizen, governance and services on demand, and digital empowerment of citizens. To achieve these goals, the initiative is built on 9 pillars of growth: broadband highways, universal access to phones, public internet access program, e-governance, reforming government through technology, e-Kranti, electronic delivery of services, information for all, electronics manufacturing, target net zero imports, IT for jobs and early harvest programs. The Department of Electronics and Information Technology coordinates the implementation of this initiative, working closely with other ministries and monitoring committees headed by the Prime Minister. Several initiatives have been launched under Digital India, including the Unified Mobile Application for New Age Governance and DigiLocker. These initiatives have significantly contributed to ease of living and transparency in the country. The digital public infrastructure has enabled a technology-led growth model and is collaborative, equitable, and democratizes opportunities. One of the standout achievements of the Digital India Initiative is financial inclusion. Over 11 crore farmers now receive money directly in their bank accounts, and more than 137 crore Aadhaar numbers have been generated. Additionally, the BharatNet project has led 6.83 lakh kilometers of optical fiber network, enhancing connectivity across the nation. Despite these achievements, the initiative faces several challenges, including coordination issues among the numerous departments involved and the persistent digital divide between rural and urban areas. Addressing these challenges is crucial for the continued success and expansion of the Digital India Initiative.
In an exciting development in the world of finance and technology, the Reserve Bank of India has joined Project Nexus, a groundbreaking international initiative aimed at enabling instant cross-border retail payments. So what exactly is Nexus? This multilateral project seeks to interlink domestic instant payment system to facilitate quick and seamless cross-border transactions. An instant payment system is an electronic payment system that allows for interbank fund transfers and sends confirmation of payment to both the receiver and the originator within a minute or less. For instance, India's Unified Payments Interface is a prime example of such a system. Project Nexus was conceptualized by the Innovation Hub of the Bank for International Settlements, or BIS, an institution established in 1930 and headquartered in Basel, Switzerland. BIS is owned by 63 central banks, including the RBI. Project Nexus aims to connect the instant payment systems for 4 ASEAN countries, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand, with India, and is expected to go live by 2026. The design of Nexus is particularly innovative. It standardizes the way domestic instant payment system connects to one another, meaning that instead of an instant payment system operator building custom connections for each new country, they only need to make one connection to Nexus. This initiative is geared towards achieving the G20 targets of enabling cheaper, faster, more transparent, and accessible cross-border payments. The benefits of Project Nexus are significant. It simplifies cross-border payments by reducing complexity, cost, and transaction time. Additionally, it offers a complementary, low-cost, and scalable solution for all payment service providers. By fostering standardization and harmonization across diverse systems, Nexus effectively bridges gap in interoperability. However, challenges still exist with cross-border payment systems. These include a lack of interoperability, slow and expensive processes, additional steps such as currency conversion, and difficulties in scaling up. In conclusion, the RBI's participation in Project Nexus marks a significant step towards revolutionizing cross-border payments, aligning with global efforts to make transactions cheaper, faster, and more transparent.
Ahead in the news, The goods and services tax in India has recently completed 7 years since its introduction through the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act in 2017. GST is a comprehensive indirect tax levied on the supply of goods and services, designed as a value-added tax to streamline the taxation system. Key features of GST include the concept of one nation, one tax, which replaced multiple indirect taxes levied by both central and state governments, such as excise duty and service tax. The GST structure is dual, comprising the central GST and the state GST. For interstate transactions, the integrated GST is applicable, collected by the central government and apportioned to the respective state. GST is a destination-based tax, meaning it is levied at each stage at the supply chain, and it operates under multiple tax slabs of 0%, 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. Governance of GST is managed by the GST Council, with the Goods and Services Tax Network providing the IT infrastructure for the GST portal. Over the past 7 years, the implementation of GST has led to the significant achievements. The number of GST taxpayers has risen from 1.05 crore in April 2018 to 1.46 crore in April 2024. GST has successfully eliminated the cascading effect of taxes, reducing the compliance burden for small taxpayers through schemes like the Composition Scheme. Additionally, the introduction of electronic way bills has increased both intrastate and interstate transactions. However, several challenges and concerns persist. The multiplicity of tax slabs and the exclusion of certain products such as liquor from GST's purview remain issues. The reduction in states' power of taxation and the delay in compensating states for revenue shortfalls are also significant concerns. Potential solutions to these challenges include rationalizing the tax structure by reducing the number of tax slabs, ensuring timely compensation for revenue losses of state, and early operationalization of all benches of the GST Appellate Tribunal. In conclusion, while the introduction of GST has brought about transformative changes in India's taxation system, continuous efforts are required to address the existing challenges and optimize the tax structure for better efficiency and inclusivity.
Ahead, bringing you an exciting development from the Ministry of Defence, the ministry has taken a significant step towards securing and enhancing data transmission within the Indian defence sector by funding a startup under the Innovations for Defence Excellence program to acquire Li-Fi technology with a particular focus on the Navy. Now let's talk about IDEX. This initiative fosters innovation and technology development in the defence and aerospace sectors. Managed by the Defence Innovation Organization under the Ministry of Defence, IDEX aims to bring cutting-edge solutions to India's defence capabilities. Moving on to the star of today's news, Li-Fi or Light Fidelity Technology is a bidirectional wireless system that uses visible light with frequency of 400 to 800 terahertz for communication, unlike the more familiar Wi-Fi which uses radio waves. Li-Fi transmits data through light-emitting diodes, and here's how it works. The on-off activity of the LED transmitter enables data transmission according to the incoming binary codes. When the LED is on, it represents a logical 1, and when off, it represents a logical 0. The applications of Li-Fi are vast and particularly useful in environments where electromagnetic radio interference poses security issues, like aircraft, hospitals, especially in operation theaters and power plants. So what makes Li-Fi stand out as compared to Wi-Fi? First, it's faster. The combination of low interference and high bandwidths allow for a higher data rate. It's also cheaper and more sustainable, being up to 10 times more cost-effective than Wi-Fi and requiring fewer components and less energy. Most importantly, Li-Fi is more secure. Since light doesn't pass through walls like radio waves do, it prevents interception, ensuring a more secure data transmission. However, like any technology, Li-Fi has its own drawbacks. It has a much shorter range than Wi-Fi and can't be accessed beyond the illumination range of the light. In conclusion, the Ministry of Defence's move to adopt Li-Fi technology underlines India's commitment to leveraging innovative technologies to enhance its defense capabilities.
Ahead in the news, let's focus on a significant development in the realm of artificial intelligence. Niti Aayog has released a white paper titled Responsible AI for All that examines facial recognition technology as its first use case. This comprehensive paper aims to establish a framework for the responsible and safe development and deployment of FRT within India. Facial recognition technology, or FRT, is an AI system that identifies or verifies a person based on images or video data using complex algorithms. The working of FRT primarily revolves around three key functions. Facial detection, which relies on algorithms to detect the presence of a human face. Facial extraction, which uses mathematical representations to identify distinctive features on individual faces. and facial recognition, which involves automatically cross-referencing a person's facial features with a pre-existing database. The applications of FRT are vast and varied. In the realm of security, FRT is used for law and order enforcement, such as surveillance, identification of persons of interest, monitoring of frauds, and screening for violations of public norms. Beyond security, FRT is applied in non-security contexts to ease access to services like contactless onboarding at airports through DigiYatra and provide unique IDs in educational institutions. Additionally, it aids in authentication for access to products, services, and public benefits. However, the deployment of FRT is not without its risks. Design-based risks include automation bias, discrimination, lack of accountability, and misidentification or inaccuracy due to underrepresentation in databases. Rights-based issues also arise, such as privacy concerns, lack of consent, informational autonomy, and the processing of sensitive personal data. To address these challenges, Niti Aayog's white paper recommends several principles for the responsible use of FRT. The first is the principle of privacy and security, which involves establishing a data protection regime that fulfills a three-pronged test of legality, reasonableness, and proportionality. The second is the principle of accountability, which emphasizes the need for addressing issues related to transparency, algorithmic accountability, and AI biases. Additionally, the paper calls for ensuring safety and reliability through the publication of standards related to explainability, bias, and errors of FRT. Lastly, the principles of protection and reinforcement of positive human values involves the constitution of an ethical committee to assess ethical implications and oversee mitigation measures. In conclusion, as we navigate the rapidly evolving landscapes of artificial intelligence, frameworks like Niti Aayog's Responsible AI for All are crucial for ensuring that technologies such as facial recognition are developed and deployed responsibly.
In a significant move, the Karnataka government has notified new rules to extend social security to unorganized transportation workers. These rules have been set under the Karnataka Motor Transport and Other Allied Workers Social Security and Welfare Act of 2024. These new regulations include the establishment of a dedicated social security fund. This fund will be financed through a cess on motor transport businesses, government grants, and contributions from beneficiaries, ensuring a robust support system for unorganized workers in the transport sector. Moving on to the broader context of social security in India. The Code on Social Security, or CSS 2020, stands as the primary legislation aimed at extended social security to all employees and workers, whether in the organized or unorganized sectors. This code provides for the establishment of a social security fund by the central government. According to CSS 2020, social security measures include protection for unorganized workers, gig workers, and platform workers to ensure access to healthcare and provide income security. Unorganized workers are defined as home-based workers, self-employed individuals, or wage workers in the unorganized sector. Under the CSS 2020, both central and state governments have the authority to frame social security schemes for unorganized workers. However, it is important to know that this code has not yet come into force. The need for social security for unorganized workers is pressing, given their lack of job security, vulnerability to health and occupational hazards, and absence to workplace benefits such as maternity leave. Several social security and welfare measures are already in place for unorganized workers in India. These include life and disability cover through schemes like Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana. The Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Man Dhan scheme provides old age protection, while the National Pension Scheme for traders and the self-employed persons support retail traders, shopkeepers, and self-employed individuals. Additionally, the e-Shram portal has been launched to register and support unorganized workers across the country. In conclusion, the Karnataka government's new rules mark a significant step towards ensuring social security for unorganized transportation workers. The place in news for today is Bolivia. It has two capitals, La Paz, which serves as administrative capital, and Sucre, the constitutional capital. Bolivia has been hit by an economic turmoil fueled by dependence on the US dollar, draining international reserves and mounting debts. Talking about its political features, it is the largest landlocked country of the southern hemisphere located in South America. It is surrounded by Brazil in the north and east, Paraguay in the southeast, Argentina in the south, Chile in the southwest and west, and Peru in the northwest. If we talk about its geographical features, its major mountain range is the Andes Mountains. Its highest point is Mount Sajama. Its major rivers are Madeira, Paraguay, and Mamor. It is also home to the Amazon rainforest. Bolivia shares Lake Titicaca, the second largest lake in South America after the Lake Maracaibo with Peru.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. India chaired its first meeting as chair of the Colombo Process. Colombo Process is a regional consultative process that provides platform for consultations on the management of overseas employment and contractual labor. Finland is supporting least developed countries through projects funded by the Enhanced Integrated Framework. EIF is the only multilateral partnership dedicated to assisting LDCs to use trade as an engine for growth, sustainable development, and poverty reduction. A new malware called Snowblind is targeting Android phones. Snowblind malware is a malware that targets Android devices to steal banking and other sensitive information. Guidelines for utilization and processing of steel slag in road construction has been released by Central Road Research Institute. Steel slag is a solid waste generated in the process of steel making. It is composed of oxides of calcium, iron, silicon, magnesium, and more. Araku coffee found mention in Prime Minister's Mann Ki Baat. Araku Arabica coffee grows in the hilly tracts of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. It is accredited with Geographical Indication Tag in 2019. T Corona Borealis, or the Blaze Star, is on the precipice of a nova explosion. It is a binary star system some 3,000 light years away that consists of a white dwarf and red giant. Talking about nova explosion, it is the instance of a star exploding as it interacts with another nearby star. Researchers have discovered that legumes use zinc as a secondary signal to regulate nitrogen fixation efficiency. Nitrogen fixation converts molecular nitrogen in atmosphere into nitrogen compounds that can be used by other biochemical processes. Talking about the role of zinc in farming, it exists naturally in rocks and is an essential micronutrient for plant life. Archaeologists have discovered world's oldest known 41,000-year-old ostrich nest in Andhra Pradesh. It could provide key information about the extinction of megafauna in the Indian subcontinent. The term megafauna describes animals above a certain weight threshold, generally above 50 kg. Before we wrap up today's bulletin, it's time to put your knowledge to test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this edition of News Today. For the solution to today's quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description below.